Please welcome the National Sportswriter of the Year, as voted on by the National Sports Media Association, ESPN's Jeff Passan.
I'm so glad Ken Rosenthal is sitting here right now, because I swear to God, if you break anything, I'm going to kill you. Put your phone away, Kenny. I kept putting off writing this speech because I knew it was going to be about my dad, and I wasn't sure what to say. He was diagnosed with brain cancer in mid-March, and we lost him 7 weeks later. He's the reason that I got into this business, so if you will allow me, I would like to tell you a little bit about him. Rich Passan spent 42 years at the Plain Dealer in Cleveland. Think about that. 42 years at the same media outlet. His first job there was as a copy boy. He was hired the week after JFK was shot. The energy of the newsroom was like a drug to him. He was where he needed to be, and eventually he worked his way over into the sports department, where he found a home. There's comfort in that, right? Like, you're doing something good and noble and meaningful, and you're doing it with people who make you better. He started covering hockey, and he did it well. He wrote a column called Passin' the Puck. Like, he was doing dad jokes before dad jokes were even a thing. At his heart, though, he was a reporter. I don't think I appreciated this until I'd been in the business for some time, but when I was younger, he loved telling this story about how some executives with the Cleveland Barons used to call him Poison Pen Passan. All of us know what it's like to have someone in a position of prominence questioning you. It's always grandstanding. It's always a ridiculous affront. It's just people being insecure. But you're not here at this ceremony celebrating the best of media and sports media in America if you have not experienced that. And my dad did more than hockey. He covered world team tennis. He was a backup on the Indians and the Cavs, and especially the Browns. He loved football. He would sit there with this yellow legal pad and chart every single play. And he did this because he came up at a time when the internet didn't exist and when we didn't have people handing us statistics, and the man needed exact numbers. He was so pedantic. And when Rich Passan believed something, he did not back away from it. And that manifested itself in the most perfect medium for that imaginable, sports talk radio. On the weekends, he would go and he would host a show, and I would go in there with him. And the callers would call up, and they would tell him how wrong he was. And I was like, wrong? My dad? No. I learned he was wrong a lot. There's this thing about growing up that causes you to see your parents differently. And I learned just how strong my mom was because she stayed married to my dad. He was immensely stubborn, and he would erect these impenetrable fortresses around his sports arguments. I could spout a dozen facts, and he would swat them away, not like cogently or anything. He would just flat out dismiss them like bothersome flies. One time, this is true, my dad said, "Jeff, I don't like logic." And yes, my dad actually did talk like that. His voice, he he would love that I'm saying this. His voice was mellifluous. That's the kind of thing that he would say. It's why people, even in his later years, they were often drawn to him. He had a great retirement. He left the PD in 2005, went straight to Phoenix, and truly enjoyed his final 19 years. He had it so good. My mom's the best, and she loved him so much. They traveled the world together. I'm so glad that they got to do that because they loved each other so much. And one of the things that my dad was proudest of in this great life was my career. He didn't tell me that very often, but it's because he didn't need to. He had taught me the power of active verbs. He told me that no detail is too small. He said all I needed to do was be myself. And later on, he said, "You are the writer that I always wanted to be, and I cannot imagine a kinder, better thing for a son to hear from his father." I try to impart the same kindness on my own kids. One of them's at a baseball tournament right now, and the other is with my wife and my mom at a dude ranch in Arizona. For the last 2 years, my parents would take my younger son a week away from suburbia, from school, from screens, just living life in nature. And my dad loved that. He loved cowboy movies when he was a kid, and I think that trip every year really fulfilled him, fulfilled some fantasy from his childhood. I know he was there with my family this week, just like I know he's here with me right now. So on behalf of him, I'd like to thank Dave Gorin, wherever you're sitting, Dave, and the NSMA for this award. I'm truly honored to get this once. It was a privilege to have it happen twice is truly a blessing. It doesn't happen without my wife, Sarah, and my sons, Jack and Luke. They allow me to do this. They buoy me every day. My editor, Rachel Ulrich, she is the best in the world at this job. And I'm not saying that because she's just sitting right there. I swear it's actually true. And my agent, Matt Kramer, his flight got canceled, and he still made it down here. Thank you, Kramer, for doing that. To all the baseball writers, editors, and producers at ESPN, thank you for making me a better person and a better reporter, and for their support and advice and friendship. Thank you, too, to Adrian Wojnarowski, Adam Schefter, and Pete Thamel. And to my fellow National Award winners, I am suffering from a severe case of imposter syndrome right now. I can't tell you how many nights I have spent with Jason Stark, just the two of us in the press box, because we are slow. And it is okay when you work on the internet and not for newspapers anymore. Just slaving over our copy, and even as he outwrote me every single time, Jason caring as much as he did made me care more. Joe Buck, you are the voice of so many of our lives. You bring into living rooms and bars and airports, all the places we gather with all the people we love, the soundtrack that illuminates the best and worst memories that we have. And we are lucky that you are so good at what you do. Andrea Kramer, we tend to fixate as human beings on firsts, and you were so many first female correspondent at ESPN, first all-female NFL booth. Those are just snapshots, though. To me, you are a paragon in this industry, and your longevity, and not those individual moments, is the greatest testament to your excellence. And Kevin Harlan, I wish I had the gumption to go streaking at a Chiefs game so I could hear you do play-by-play of me being the idiot on the field. It would be worth the charge. Your humor, your preparation, your sense for the moment, they are nonpareil. I only hope to represent Kansas City as well as you do. My dad, by the way, would have absolutely killed me for name dropping like this. He would have been like, Jeff, edit yourself. And he was my first editor. I started doing this when I was 14 years old. And he'd read through my stories and mark them up with a red pen. As I have told my sister, Nicole, who became an editor like my father was for the last 20 years of his career, it looked like a murder scene. And I am so thankful that he killed my copy because he was right. It needed work. It always does. Little did I know at the time, he was teaching me, gifting another little part of what would make me me. I am shaped in his image and proud to be. Thank you.